Labs can get through huge numbers of hazardous waste bins, all of which go straight to incineration. But should we be paying more attention to the carbon footprint of the bin itself? Today, we're going to take a look at BioBin, what the product actually is, evaluating its sustainability claims, and understanding how it would perform in a real lab. Hi, I'm Ben Gray, a scientist and founder of Sustainable Steps, where we help labs like you become more sustainable through actionable, practical steps. For transparency, the product reviewed in this video was sent by the manufacturer. However, this is an independent review and the manufacturer had no editorial control over this video. So what exactly is a BioBin? Well, I have their 6-litre bin here, and all of their bins are 96% paper-based, non-sharps clinical waste containers. They come in a variety of colours, so I've got the yellow one here for infectious waste, but they also have orange for infectious waste, tiger stripe for offensive waste, purple for cytotoxic waste, red for anatomical waste, and blue for medicinal waste. And they also come in a range of sizes. So BioBin sent me the 1 litre, 5 litre, 6 litre and 30 litre, but there's also a 2 litre, a recently launched 50 litre and a loop bin as well. They all come as flat pack, other than the 6 litre, which comes as pre-made. And the 6 litre here is specifically for serological pipettes. And it was also sent to me with the Z stand, so that the bin can very finely sit in like that. And there are a range of different stands available for each of them. So they're all based on letters, depending on what shape the stand is. So as I said, I've got the Z stand here, which is specifically for the 6 litre bin, but they also have what they call M stands for the 2 litre, 5 litre and loop. They have a U stand as well for the 6 litre, and for the bigger bins, the 30 litre and the 50 litre, they have an M stand, a trolley, a floor stand and a wall bracket available. BioBin provide some really great assembly guides and videos for how to assemble from the flat pack. So I'm going to give that a go now with the 1 litre, 5 litre and 30 litre that have been sent. So for the 1 litre bin here, as you can see, this is how it comes as a flat pack. Very small bin, obviously, with it just being 1 litre. And essentially the instructions say, take it out of the box, then pull it into shape, put your hands inside to just push the flaps out, and then it's ready to use. So really super simple. We'll talk through the seals in a bit. But that's the 1 litre. And then the 5 litre is exactly the same. So again, here you can see it in flat pack form. I can pull it into place, a little more tricky. And there you see, that's it in its shape. And as it fills, I imagine these sides will come out. So that's the 5 litre. With the 30 litre bin being much bigger, it's a little more involved. This time it comes with the bin itself, again in flat pack, and a bin cert as well, which goes inside the bin just to make it more sturdy. So the bin, first of all, again, you can simply place your hands inside to make the bin into its shape. And then on the bin cert, you can see just a quick tab here, which it tells you to align on the bin as well. So I can place this inside. Like so. Making sure all the corners are lined up. And then the next thing to do is just to remove the tabs. So then you've just got a plastic insert on there. Push the bin insert all the way down to the bottom of the bin, and then you just want to press it out so that it sticks to the bin and supports it. So now, as you can see on the inside, you've got an additional layer of protection here for the bigger bins. And this is how the 30 litre and the 50 litre will be built. On review of the video, I realised I built the bio bin in the slightly wrong way. So the bin insert for the 30 litre, you notice how there's a bent side and a flat side from that flat pack design. Now, I aligned the bent side of the bin insert to the bent side of the bio bin. Now, it's even stronger if you align that bent side of the bin insert to the flat side of the bio bin. So I just wanted to let you guys know that you can follow the bio bin assembly guides and the videos they have there as they go into more detail than what I have just now. So if you follow my guide, just make sure that you align that bent side of the bin insert to the flat side of the bio bin, so you get the full strength. So you saw me unpack these now. I would say that it was a little more difficult to unpack as the sizes got bigger. The flat pack was a little more firm, but I imagine with time and experience, that will become easier and easier. I mean, you guys saw me undo it for the first time ever, so I imagine that will get easier with time. One thing you may have noticed, as we now move on to the product performance, is in the bottom of each of these bins, there's a biomat. Now, this is designed to soak up any fluids that might enter your bin because of the waste. And each of the bins have a different claim for how much fluid they can take on. So the next test I'm going to do is to add that much fluid into the bin and see if the bin can cope with that amount of fluid. Now, in a real lab sense, you're far more likely to add this fluid a tiny bit by a tiny bit, but I'm going to do the worst case scenario and add it all at once and see how these bins perform. Because for me, one of my primary concerns when I heard about a bin made of 96% paper was, oh, is that going to leak? Is any hazardous fluid going to leak out the bottom? So I think this is a really important test, and come along as I do it. So to start off with the 1 litre, that claims it can deal with 100 millilitres of waste. So as you can see, the biomat in the bottom there, and I'm just gonna pour and see how it deals. Feels like a lot of water to go into a bin, I must say. So the water is currently just sat at the bottom, but there is no sign of leaking at all. If we come back to the 1 litre now, as that's been sat there 5 minutes or so, and yes, you can see in that time, so again, the biomat does become more liquidy, but it really does hold that moisture, that liquid in. And there is absolutely no sign of any leakage whatsoever. And I must say, again, I was quite concerned at first that a 96% paper bin might have leakage like that. But feeling this as it is now, you can tell that that 4% that isn't paper is there to protect it from leakage and spills and to give it its strength as well. Okay, now moving on to the 6 litre. So the 6 litre claims again 100 millilitres, so the same as the 1 litre. I assume this is probably the same biomat as the base is pretty much the same size. So again, you can see the 6 litre in its Z stand here, and you can see that biomat down all the way at the bottom. So I'm going to add 100 mils of water once again, and we shall wait and see what it looks like at the end. Okay, so an initial look. It looks very similar to the 1 litre to start with, where no leakage, no sign of leakage whatsoever. Still watery at the bottom, but I can start to see the biomat working. And to come back now to the 6 litre, again, it looks to be performing just like the 1 litre. No sign of leakage at all. That biomat slowly taking in that moisture. Again, as I said, I've put it through its worst case scenario of having all 100 mils at once, and we'll come back to that 6 litre to see how it's performing. Okay, so now we come to the 5 litre biobin. Now, this one claims to be able to absorb 250 millilitres of fluid. Now, that is probably because the base is much wider than the other two, so they have the room to be putting in a bigger mat. So 250 millilitres going in. Again, I'm splashing on the sides of the bin as well to really test that it's able to deal with splashes of chemicals and water and fluid like this. Okay, and finally we have the 30 litre bin. Now, this biomat claims to be able to absorb 1 litre of fluid. Again, I assume because of the bigger base that it's able to have a bigger mat there at the bottom. So I'm going to have to do 2 trips with my water bottle to fill this up. So we'll start with the first half litre. Again, trying to splash along the sides as well, on the inserts of the biocert as well to mimic what could happen in a lab. And then for the second half litre, straight in the bottom there. So now that all 4 of the bins have been tested with the fluid, there is absolutely no leakage at all with any of the 4 of them. And I think, considering we added all of that fluid in at once, this is going to be the worst case scenario, but also this time is going to be the time it will have leaked if it does. I'll keep you posted if I see anything over time, but I imagine that actually, and if I show you on the 1 litre one here, you can see that the biomat has become thicker and it's absorbed a lot of that liquid. And I imagine over time that is just going to dry off and it will have absorbed what it can, and then I don't see any risk at all to leakage. The other area I wanted to test for you was the weight of these samples, because again, when I heard about a bin being paper-based, 96% paper, I was concerned that they wouldn't be able to withstand the weight of lab waste that would go in them. So I've managed to test the smaller bins, so the 1 litre, the 5 litre and the 6 litre that we have available. Unfortunately, I don't have enough weight here in the studio to be able to do an 8 litre, but given the performance of the other 3, we can have a see and a feel of how that 30 litre would perform as well. So we're now going to test the 1 litre bin for its strength and its weight. So you can see very clearly labelled on the bin, it says that the max fill weight is 0.5 kilograms. So of course we've already added 100 mils of water in there, but what I've done is I have weighed out some rice from my kitchen to exactly 500 grams, and we're going to pop that in here. And then what we're going to do is check that it feels strong enough. So straight away I would say, yes, that absolutely does. No sign at all of it breaking, especially considering we've already added the 100 mils of water in there too. And then I'm also going to create the temporary seal, which you can see here. There's a tiny piece of Velcro just here, and there's a tiny bit of Velcro just here as well. So for the temporary seal, we can simply press there, press it firmly. So that temporary seal isn't working quite as well as I would have hoped. Let's try again, pressing really firm now. Okay, so that temporary seal is popping off a little bit. But either way, you can see here from a strength point of view that there is no concern at all of half a kilogram in that 1 litre bin. And actually now you can see, now I've held that firmly down for long enough, the temporary seal is sealing well. And you've got a handle here as well to hold it by. Okay, and for the 6 litre bin, you can again much clearly see actually a 1 kilogram max fill weight. So I have replaced rice this time with a 1 kilogram dumbbell. And just by placing this in, just at the bottom there. Again, I'd very much say this is a worst case scenario, having one heavy thing at the bottom of that bin rather than the weight distributed. Again, primarily, I'd see absolutely no fears at all. And then I can make the temporary seal just the same as before. Bits of Velcro on either side there. And I'm going to just close that bin down and press firmly there. Again, this bin is after having the 100 mils of water as well, so it has had that. And again, worst case scenario, just had its full amount of water and the 1 kilogram weight at the bottom. No concerns at all there about weight and strength. And the temporary seal, now that I've held that firmly, is holding very strong, and you can handle it by the small handle at the top here, which is actually very handy. And then to open it, nice temporary seal that actually with the Velcro. And then we're going to finish off with the 5 litre bin. Max fill weight this time, 2 kilograms. So I have 2 lots of 1 kilogram dumbbells, which we're going to place in the bottom here, nice and flat. Again, initial thoughts, nice, strong and sturdy, especially for the worst case scenario. And then if we do the temporary seal, pressing firmly on the top here, you do need to hold this Velcro for a bit. This is maybe because it's the first time making this temporary seal as well. But then once it's there, as you can see, and that is quite heavy now for 2 kilograms, and this has also had the 250 millilitres of fluid added in, but you can see, nice and strong. Even that temporary seal isn't giving out under that weight. For the permanent seal, you want to take off this label to reveal the adhesive, and then you simply want to fold this down like that, and then you press it into its box shape, and then you can push those sides down. I've not done it the neatest there, but as you can see, you've got little places for those to go, and that is now very sealed. And you can hold it by its handle at the top. Trying to get that adhesive off is actually very hard now, very much stuck. So that's the permanent seal for the 1 litre bin. For the 5 litre, very much the same. You want to peel off this label to reveal the adhesive. You want to make sure that you're going to fold down into the box shape, which will come with practice, I am sure. You then want to seal it at the top, fold it down to its box, and then press these last ones down there. So because we didn't do the weight test with the 30 litre bin, I didn't get a chance to show you the temporary seal. So this is how it is temporarily sealed. It is different with these larger bins. As you can see, there's a little twist lock here. So essentially, you close the bin up, you line up the twist lock, and then you simply twist it. And then they do provide handles here, so you just need to pop out this card, either side, and then you have a way to hold this bin from both sides. Especially when it gets heavier, it's important to have both of those. And then as we look at the permanent seal, it looks to be very similar to the smaller bins. So you want to take the label off. Again, you want to align it so it's going to fold down That's the square. Which I do find a bit difficult at times, but I think with practice you'd be set. You can actually still use the twist lock, and then you just need to fold it down into its square shape. Again, you have really useful guides on the box to tell you how to close it. And that is the permanent seal, which again you can use the handles to transport. So the other parts of product performance I want to talk about are the weight of the sample. Now, with these being made out of 96% paper, they are considerably less weight than any other hazardous waste bins I'm aware of out there. And that's a good thing for a couple of things. We'll dive into the sustainability part later on, but it's really great in terms of the amount that you'll pay for your incineration as well, because they just take the weight of the overall waste. So if your bin is contributing less to that weight, that's a win on cost as well. Talking of price, the biobins do vary depending on which supplier you'll get them from when you're looking at how much they'll cost to purchase, but they are often either competitive or better to any plastic or other sustainable alternatives that I've seen. They can be purchased in packs of 20 or 100 at a time, with the 1 litre ranging from about £1.50 to £3 per unit, again depending on the supplier. The 5 litre ranging between £1.82 and £3.72 per unit, and then the larger 30 litre ranging between £6.90 and £19.40. So you can see with those ranges, it really is important that you shop for price. The final thing I'd want to point out on product performance is that space saving. So other than the 6 litre bin that I have here, all the others, as you saw, came in flat pack. Now, I've worked in many labs, I've seen labs at universities as well. Space is always a really important commodity. So to be able to have a bulk of these in your warehouse, in your stores, or even in your lab cupboard, which take up less space than the 20 or 100 bulk orders would usually, is a win there as well. So now we come into my favourite topic, looking at the sustainability claims of BioBin. So as these bins are made out of 96% paper and they weigh less, meaning there's less carbon associated with the shipping and also with the incineration, and they take up less space, again, a win on the shipping carbon side of things. These bins do have a lower carbon than most other bins or any other bin that I've seen out there. The LCAs are not publicly available because they include sensitive information on the product. However, there is a promotional document available with LCA data on that, which I'm able to share with you. The LCAs have all been completed to the standards, cradle to grave, assuming that incineration is what takes place there. And these bins, so the 5 litre uses 0.18 kilograms of CO2 per unit, and the 30 litre being 1.22 kilograms of CO2 per unit. And for me as well, looking at how this LCA adds up, the reason it is so much lower is because the initial production of paper versus plastic is going to be lower carbon. As we've said already, the weight of the sample, the flat pack designs of the bins as well mean that their shipping carbon is reduced as well. And then from an incineration point of view, when you look at measuring how much carbon is associated with that incineration, paper is always going to be a lower carbon intensity than the plastic is. So in all of those it does win. And they do have a calculator online as well to compare the biobins to either 100% polypropylene or a 40% recycled plastic, 60% virgin plastic alternative. And the great thing with this, I've been able to look behind the scenes at how this calculator has been worked. It's all above board, using LCAs, using the weights of the samples as well. So this calculator looks at the carbon intensity per unit rather than per kilogram, which I think is a far more useful measure for labs like yourselves, because you're going to be using so ever many units, not thinking about how much they weigh. Regarding sustainability documentation as well, so Biobin do have a carbon reduction plan. This came into place for the 2024-25, and they've also just had their first year update, in which they've already seen some really big carbon savings. Their carbon goal is 2050 to be net zero. So this is very much in line with the UK and the government plans for 2050 net zero as well. I might have liked to see them be a little more ambitious given the sustainability company they are, but they're already making great savings, and most of their carbon is associated with scope 3, depending on transportation and that final incineration of the products as well. The paper that they use is FSC certified as well, so anybody in sustainability has probably heard or seen paper being FSC certified. What that means is that there's been no net loss of forests, a fair wage and work environment, plant and animal species around that area have been protected, and the local community rights around the forest are consulted. And I think this is a really important thing to have, because Biobin being a UK-based company, supply chains can be tricky to manage. So having a supplier that is FSC certified is a really great thing. And also on their website, they have a commitment to anti-slavery within their supply chain. Again, it's really great to see that they are publicly advocating for this, because in complex supply chains, when you're making these kinds of products, it's really important to make sure that environmentally and socially we're acting as sustainably as possible. So, in summary, we know that hazardous waste bins are a large part of sustainability within a lab. We know that labs go through hundreds of these and they all end up in incineration. And currently most of these are going to be 100% plastic. So trying to look at reducing the CO2 of those bins is a really important consideration. And I think having a 96% bin for hazardous waste in this case is a really great solution to that. It's important to note that these bins are not suitable for sharps waste. So in this case, plastic is potentially still the best way to go at this point in time. But other hazardous waste, these biobins are available. Going into it, I was concerned about the strength of the product. However, with the test that we've done today, after adding fluid in as well, we've seen that these bins can hold up. My other concern was certainly on its leak proof as well. And having tested all of these to really quite high amounts of fluid, they've all stood to the test, as you've been able to see, with that biomat technology inside. It's also important to say that there is carbon savings with this, and these biobins can fit into your process very easily. They are bins. It doesn't mean a big culture change in the lab. They can simply replace the plastic alternatives you use today. In terms of any limitations or trade-offs I see, honestly, from doing the research myself, this does feel like a no-brainer. They are cheaper, they are more sustainable, and less space taking up as well. It is important that you do shop with the right supplier to get the best price possible for you. I did see a comment online that mentioned that there have been issues when they look to autoclave these bins. However, Biobin claim that they are safe to autoclave, and when I've spoken to other members of the science community, they've not seen a problem with this. So if you are a new customer, maybe worth trying your worst case scenario and talking with the team at Biobin to work through any challenges that you have. So my overall takeaway with these is they're a really good product. They're something that I think every lab can benefit from. They are already in lots of labs here in the UK. I see them posted all over LinkedIn. I see them in a lot of the labs I go and visit. So they really do seem like a great alternative to how things are done today. If you would be a new customer to BioBin, you can head to the BioBin website, which I'll link in the comments below, and request a free sample from them. So you can try this out in your lab, see if it fits the processes, and test it with your own materials as well. I think that's really important to have the confidence in your lab before you go ahead to a longer term purchase. In that free sample request, please do mention that you heard of BioBin through the Sustainable Steps review. That will really help the channel and really help us to track how impactful these review videos are. Thank you very much for listening along. Please do subscribe to the channel, give us a like if you found it useful. We have loads more videos like this coming up. I already have a list of 3 or 4 other sustainable lab suppliers who I'm looking to review in the coming months. Thank you all for watching and see you in the next one.